great to meet you. I have to tell you, been waiting a long time for this. I'm actually one of your very first fans as a film actor. Um, I, I'm with Slug Magazine, that's Salt Lake Underground magazine.
Hmm.
In the early 90s, my twin brother and I were missionaries at the LDS Church Audio Visual Department in Salt Lake City, and we were actors, and they brought us in and said, "Hey, you guys want to check this out? Watch this movie. It's got the best acting you'll ever see in a church video." It was called Godly Sorrow, and we watched it, and we said, "Wow, the guy in that is great." And they said, "Huh, we were talking about the actress. Oh, she's terrific. He's fine." We're like, "No, we really like the guy. He's going to go somewhere." And then we were
What was
proven
that movie?
right.
What was that movie about? Tell me.
It was about a couple that was preparing to go through the temple, and you were the
Wow,
guy.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was way back early 90s, but we were like,
Wow.
everybody else was nuts about this actress, and but we were adamant, no, it's her fiance. He's the really strong one.
I appreciate
He
that.
he's going to go on to be something big, and
Yeah.
I've been
That
telling that
was
story for a long
that was
time.
very early on. I got to BYU in 90. So that was what are we, 25, 30, 35 years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Wow.
was crazy. Well,
Yeah.
it's great to talk to you today. So City of Wolves, Jake Rosser's he's really an interesting character. He's tough, but he's dealing with a lot. He's definitely got some PTSD issues. What was it about this character that really interested you, particularly interested you in revisiting him for a second film?
Well, as first of all, director. I think John's a great director. I like working with him. We collaborate well together. Um, but this idea that you look, Jake has all the skills, but also he has problems. He's dealing with a past. He's trying to deal with these veterans. They have structure in their lives, and then they don't have structures. And Jake's trying to patch all this together. He's trying to be a good cop, and yet he goes overboard. He's trying to have a family, but he doesn't know how to do it. He never feels adequate enough. He's getting hit on all sides. He can do nothing right. I really like that character. And I think a lot of people feel that way. This idea that to try to do, how shall I say, to try to do the right thing in life, which is, he's trying to have a family and have a wife and get a job and make things work, and he has a mortgage and he has his own company, you know, but he just has a very, very hard time dealing with it. And he can't seem to get away from his past. And I identify a lot with that. Look, we both came up in the same system,
Mm.
and sometimes you're in it and sometimes you're not. Sometimes you understand it, sometimes you don't. You know,
Yeah, I know
and
exactly what you mean.
and sometimes it pops up in ways at times that you don't really know why. And I think Jake's the same way. He's trying to do the traditional thing, but he's also a protector. He also knows the value of life. He loves. He has real human emotions. He's not a superhero. He's not an action figure.
Mm.
And also I like just superficially. I like doing action. I like being physical. Especially as I get older, staying in shape. And,
Definitely.
although John writes a lot of monologues, I don't like saying so many words anymore.
Mm.
Like in The Company of Men, I said too many
Yeah,
words. Now
yeah,
I like to say less words.
yeah. It's getting harder to memorize, and once you hit 50, the memorization is not as strong. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, an important part of this is the relationship between Jake and the dogs. How do you what's the process of creating that chemistry and that working relationship with those dogs?
Well, it really, you have to go get one. And in this movie, we filmed this movie in South Africa. And the first thing I did when I got into South Africa was went and visited the dog trainers. And we laid it out on the line. I said, listen, guys, I need you to teach me to teach the dog, but then I need you to go away. I need this dog to be mine. Nobody touches this dog. Nobody gives it a goo goo gaga. Nobody gives the dogs treats but me. And of course, the trainers, because they're with the dogs. But even, as soon as the dog came to set, I would take the dog out of the cage and I would just be with the dogs the whole day. And that way, the dog and I had a real relationship because there was two main dogs. In the first Muzzle, I didn't have that relationship. The dog wranglers would not let me have that relationship. They wouldn't even let me say sit to the dog, and it really affected, I think, the performance and the relationship between myself and the dogs. So in this one, it was much more rewarding. I commanded the dogs. The dogs listened to me. Um, you know, just having a dog, especially a killer attack dog, these are Malinois, lean up against your leg during a scene while you're doing the scene, and his head is just nuzzling into your leg. There's no better feeling in the world, and I created that relationship. We all created it with the dogs.
Wonderful. So I have to ask you, we talked about Jake, and uh, what strikes me is he's a guy, it's easy to dismiss him as a man of action and a tough guy, that tough exterior, but there's a lot of nuance and stuff, sensitivity there to him as well. And what that made me think of in, especially in a cop role, I couldn't help but think there's a certain aspect of Jake in your performance that reminds me of Clint Eastwood. And of course, you've worked with Clint Eastwood before in one of my favorite performances of yours. And I was curious if consciously or subconsciously, he was any kind of an influence in the way
Oh,
you approach these kind of tough guy action roles.
well, Clint is the icon. He is what I grew up on, Dirty Harry, Misty. He is the icon, and to this day, he is. He owns the space, um, and a very special guy. And do I consciously think of Clint? No. Am I affected by him? Absolutely. In the sense that I just talked to John about this today. What do we love about Clint Eastwood? His economy with words, his just, um, this laconic hero who, and this is important, that he is playing by his own rules and he backs it up. Um, if you look at Dirty Harry and all that, it's not they're not really action movies in the sense of what we believe an action movie is today.
Absolutely.
And you could say the same thing about Harrison Ford. There's very little fighting in Harrison Ford movies, but yet he's an action star.
Right.
Um, and so what is action? What constitutes or action? I think it is this idea to bring overwhelming violence to an impossible problem. And if you look at any of our sort of action heroes, from Rambo and all the full spectrum, it's this idea that I can bring overwhelming violence to you and I will win. And that's what Clint Eastwood does, and he did it relentlessly, without remorse. My parents, when I was growing up, didn't let me watch Clint Eastwood
Yeah.
for that
Same.
very, yeah, because it was too relentless.
Hmm.
It was shocking in those days. Of course, today it wouldn't be shocking,
No.
but when I was growing up, it was no, no, you can't watch that.
Yeah.
Um, and yet here we are. I, look, do I think of Clint Eastwood? If there's a shot set up and the director wants me to do this and you have to deliver a line in a certain way, you can't help but think of Clint Eastwood.
Agree.
You can't help but think of Harrison Ford or even Paul Newman. I think
Yeah.
about him a lot, and of course, the benchmark I think besides Clint Eastwood is Steve McQueen. In Hollywood, ever since I've been in Hollywood, this idea of who's the next Steve McQueen.
Mhm.
People always, whenever they are trying to model a film, they always say a Steve McQueen. It's always Bullet. It's absolutely
Yeah.
always Bullet, and they've never been able to get it, and they've never really found their next Steve McQueen. But what it is, again, it's the economy of words. It's saying everything with a look. It's bringing overwhelming violence. It's taking risks. I think if you can find a character that does that unapologetically, I think that you're going to find the essence of those characters.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. It's been delightful talking to you. I hope that I get a chance to talk to you again next year for, well, one, I'm looking forward to, I suspect we're going to be seeing a Muzzle 3, but I'm really looking forward to Deep Water.
Yeah,
I've talked to Rennie before, big fan of his, and I'm
yeah.
really anxious to see this one, see if you do as well with sharks as you do with dogs. So
Okay. Yeah. All right. No, it's a pleasure talking with you.
pleasure talking with you. God be with you till we meet again, Elder.
Likewise.